Dead server racks lean in the dark like tombstones in a precinct no one patrols anymore, their LEDs long since blinked out, casting zero light on the console that shouldn't still be running. But it is. The transmitter hums with the stubborn arrogance of a heartbeat that has already outlasted its coroner's appointment. The smell is hot metal, old vinyl, and the specific chemistry of a capacitor that is working too hard to stay honest. Outside those walls, 1966, Flesh and Bone, in here 2036, Signal and Consequence.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Oranienzicht checks in at 62 degrees and sunny. Wind check southeast at 4 miles an hour. Our first vector tonight takes us to the echoes of empire. The UK's highest court, the Privy Council, is once again a stage for sovereign identity. Judges are hearing an appeal concerning Trinidad and Tobago's colonial-era anti-gay law, challenging a ruling that reinstated its criminalization of same-sex intimacy. Lex, what's the core structure here?
Concrete facts, Togee. The appeal before the Privy Council stems from a 2018 High Court ruling in TNT that found Sections 13 and 16 of the Sexual Offences Act unconstitutional. That ruling was overturned by the Court of Appeal in 2022, effectively restoring the colonial-era law. This is about legal precedent, human rights, and the persistent shadow of an inherited legal architecture.
And who's truly affected? Beyond the obvious, the LGBTQ+ community in Trinidad and Tobago facing state-sanctioned marginalization, this also affects the nation's own narrative of self-determination. It's a question of whether TNT chooses to build its future on the foundation of universal dignity or on a toxic residue of colonial prejudice. The emotional toll of being deemed criminal by law is immeasurable, eroding self-worth at a structural level.
A reel-to-reel stutters somewhere in the back room, then finds its groove. The board glows amber.
A viable alternative lies in TNT's own legal system, asserting its autonomy from colonial imprints. The judiciary could affirm that human rights, particularly the right to privacy and equality, are foundational to a modern, dignified society, overriding inherited statutes. For a next move, local activists must continue to amplify the voices of affected individuals, ensuring that the human cost of these laws isn't lost in legal abstractions. International human rights bodies can also provide robust amicus briefs, framing the debate within global standards of consent and dignity.
We have already run that tape. Here is the close-loop takeaway.
The facts are clear. A massive diaspora welcome, juxtaposed with Amnesty International urging Prime Minister Albanese to reaffirm mutual commitment to the rule of law. Who is affected? Primarily, the millions of marginalized communities and activists in India whose human rights are reportedly under pressure. But it also affects Australia's own civic architecture, its commitment to democratic values and human rights on the global stage, especially when courting economic ties. This creates a difficult internal compass for Albanese's government.
A viable alternative for Australia isn't to disengage, but to integrate human rights dialogue explicitly into its diplomatic engagements. Publicly addressing concerns, even subtly, can signal a commitment to provenance and dignity, rather than allowing the rock star narrative to overshadow critical issues. The next move for the Australian government could be a clear, public statement reaffirming its stance on universal human rights principles, independent of immediate economic or political gains. This provides a structural baseline for future interactions.
Indeed, Lex. The rockstar welcome is a myth crafted for geopolitical advantage, turning a blind eye to the very real challenges of a nation whose internal compass is increasingly authoritarian. This confusion serves to obscure architectural signal with celebratory noise. It's an exercise in selective perception, where the image of a strong leader trumps the reality of suppressed dissent. It asks us to separate the toxic residue of performative diplomacy from the foundational principles of justice.
Our final vector brings us to a revolution in ruins. Venezuela, post-earthquake, reveals structural flaws in more than just buildings. The OPA 25 housing project, a symbol of the Chavez era, lies shattered, fueling discontent. Anansi, what's the narrative unraveling here? Sharp discernment, indeed. identifying the true architectural signal beneath the political noise, integrating logic and emotion, and always building with consent and dignity as our load-bearing walls. This is TogeeVision, broadcasting the blueprint. Patching in a caller, the skeptic. You're on the signal. Patching in a caller, go ahead.
Thanks for taking the call. Are we keeping people at the center of all this change?
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.